This is Jamie Lefrino, the policy regulation of the services and policy regulations authorizing the president's primary election. We're at B. Amon. B. Amon Mueller, 1914-1998. D. Lois Mueller. D. Lois Mueller. And B. Amon. This is B. Amon. A. Amon Mueller, J. Mueller, Amy Mueller, Jim Mueller, Amy Mueller, and also D. Lois Mueller, 1917-92, D. Amon Mueller, 1914-1998. We know you made a YouTube service at the administration office. And the YouTube information that's have says 1409 South Union, Kennewick, Washington, 519-765-4451. Fax 519-765-6019. The presidential primary election carries administration office at J. Mueller's Freedom Home at 1401 South Union. We got YouTube information. Policy regulation J. Mueller's Freedom Home at 1401 South Union. Amy Mueller, J. Mueller, Amy Mueller, J. Mueller, Jim Mueller, J. Mueller's biological brother. And the service and policy regulation of service installing all this administration office to its satisfaction of policy regulation authorization, bringing the presidential primary election. The presidential primary election at J. Mueller's Freedom. Let's get a look around. J. Mueller. Policy, regulation, and services. And we got Mueller Riddle, January 21st, 1938, and Loving Mom's sister, Aunt, June 10th of 2022, Gail Christine. Now, J. Mueller, Amy Mueller, Amon Mueller, Eunice Mueller, carrying this authorization in the Service Administration Office, the presidential primary election. Now we got the east and west side of the building, or north and south of the building. And also the artifacts of the service of the east and west side of the building, which has got massive. And also the other side of the building. See the service that they have. Jim Durning, YouTube your information at Kennewick, Washington on Kennewick Avenue. Another side of the internal mechanism of J. Mueller's funeral home. Another side of the magnitude of J. Mueller's administration office. Another mechanism of the internal mechanism of J. Mueller's funeral home. Another side, north and south of the building, east and west of the building. Bill J. Mueller and John McKinnon, Carla McKinnon, at 509-765-4451. See, I don't go to Pascawash, I go to Kennewick, and I go to Richland. The Richland Field and Federal Building, the Cadillac Hospital, Richland Cadillac Hospital has a video URL, confirmation verification. We got the east and side, east. West, north and south and east and west side of the building covered in video. So we got pictures, Jamie. We got the service, Donald A. Trump, Melania Trump, Laura Trump, Ivanka Trump, Kaylin C. Trump. Her 18th birthday was in this month. Kaylin C. Trump is 18 years old. She had a birthday this month of 2020, May of 2025. We got the presidential primary election here. Service and policy regulations, Eamon Mueller, D. Lewis Mueller, Gail Christine Mueller, Riddle. Ivanka Trump. Donald Trump. Ivanka Trump. Ivana Trump. Melania Trump. and their services. Now we got services, Donald J. Trump. We got Donald Trump, services at the Pentagon Oval House, making the President of the United States of America and Jefferson's portrait in the background. We got the Donald Trump and Mr. Outsetts and Mr. Rubio, Marco Rubio, and Donald J. Trump at the Pentagon Oval House, White House. Donald Trump has pictured a photograph presented Mar-a-Lago, Florida, and presenting information as the 45th President, 47th President of the United States of America. We had Ivanka Trump at Air Force One picture, and Donald Trump, 45th President of the United States of America, where they took Larson Air Force Base, and Larson Air Force Base and policy regularly refused to build their Air Force One because Donald Trump Jr. is running for the President of the United States of America. Now, he's running for the President of the United States of America, so they stopped Donald Trump to build successfully his Air Force One at Larson Air Force in Moses Lake, Washington. They refused to build his Air Force One. So he went to Qatar and Saudi Arabia to do contracts, because I worked at the oil company in ConocoPhillips on Stratford Road at the Richland Federal Courthouse for 50 years now, 50 years at the federal courthouse, going on 50 years, 40 years, accomplished 40 years, another 50 years, at 825 Jadwin. We got Melania Trump, her little office at the Kennedy Building in Richland, Washington, 99352. The Columbia Point Golf Course, the Yacht Club, and the policy regulation of Donald Trump, his signature confirmation of the Oval House of Melania Trump, Donald Trump, New York City, New York, and that's on Central Park, right across from the service of Central Park and Wall Street, where the main connection and service of Wall Street of the dollar value has been appreciated. Now, having services, an administration office, carrying the authorization, a personal income society of carrying that authorization, presenting information for criteria of policy regulation of their service administration office. At 1835 73rd Avenue, making witnesses, Bill Gates, Microsoft company. Now, Bill Gates and Felix Barela donated $200 billion to use it up within the 20-year period increment for all these policy and regulation and close all the doors down. Providing COVID authorization, vaccinations and vaccines, and also providing services for any kind of diseases that have been obliterating, destroying families and children and services of that nature. This is Jamie Lewis Freedom. This is 1835 73rd Avenue, Bill Gates, owner of Apple, Microsoft company. This is Jamie Lewis Freedom, 1401 South Union. This is the photograph after the effect of the $200 billion income society of authorization. Now, Roberta Barela, I was born 10:41 a.m. Richland Cadillac Hospital at 10:41 a.m. October 21st, 1972. Juan M. Barela is Texas for 32 years. He was a resident. Roberta Violet Hernandez in Nebraska for 30 years as a resident. And I was born at 10:41 a.m. in Richland Cadillac Hospital. County, city, and state is Benton County. Richland, Washington, 99352. And Andy Miller, Washington State Prosecutor Andy Miller, Norm, at 711 to Okanagan Place, had a policy regulation that service, and the policy regulation his years and years and years of torment and service of being the Washington State Prosecutor and also working for Eric I. Singer, Norman Rodriguez, Ryan Lutzkin, and the policy regulation at the federal courthouse at 825 Jadwin, the Kennedy Building. This is a Philadelphia Eagles portrait bringing the championship, number 47, to the White House. The Philadelphia Eagles fighting the Kansas Cities. For 2 consecutive years, they won the championship, and the Philadelphia won the championship, taking the championship from the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. This is Donald J. Trump at Pennsylvania, on July 13th of 2024, where he was assassinated at Butler County. He goes to McKenna Law Firm, calls the Collin Law Firm, pleaded not guilty, all charges, building Air Force One at Larson Air Force Base in Moses Lake, Washington, the United States Army base. So they continued to come to the house and break into windows, break into services, try to bring a situated service of their agencies and recording video, making things up at J. Mueller's funeral, at Ronnie Kaiser's funeral, a United States jet engine purchased on a receipt transaction, had to go to Pasco to get the transport service and paperwork at J. Mueller's Greenlee Chapel Falls on Court Street at 1620 Pasco, a Mueller's funeral. And get this jet engine transported to Rhonda Kaiser's funeral, to McKinnon Law Firm, PS Corp., which is 831 Pioneer Way, Rhonda Kaiser's funeral, where J. Mueller has the contract and service and expanding services with a jet engine that was brought to the residence by a CDL requirement driver's license at Moses Lake, Washington. Upgrades on top of that, and also relicensed business license furnished at J. Mueller's funeral. This is J. Mueller's funeral. And this is J. Mueller. And this is, of course, the Mueller administration. This is, of course, Donald J. Trump. President of the United States, 45th, 47th, former United States of America. President of the United States, Pennsylvania, Commonwealth State. Butler County, Pennsylvania. This is Norman J. Manus. Norman J. Manus and Mr. Andy Miller has photographs on policy regulations and business cards. This is Norman J. Manus, United States Marines, General, and Department of Defense. And this policy regulation, Norman J. Manus, United States Marines. The policy regulation and commercial society will take you to the location, area, destination, points, and also the location and service of the timelines. This is United States General of 2024, 2025, and 2024. This is 2025, January, February, March, April, May, June. 2020, November, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July. This is 2025, the General of the Marine Corps. Now the other General, Norman J. Manus, carrying this off for policy, regulations, services. This policy, regulation, and service that they have, being the General Norman J. Manus as he is, downloading, submitting information as you can see, taking a timeline, Mel Christine Mueller Riddle, January 21st, 1938, June 10th, 2020, Gail Christine. Amen Mueller, Lois Mueller, 1917, 1992. This is timeline. Norman Douglas, Helen Richards, William Benson, Wanda E. Benson, William O. Benson, 1914-1995, Wanda A. Benson, 1920-1904. Now the timeline. See this timeline they got. Norma J. Manis. Now carrying that Senate, United States General, 2024-2025. October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, 2025. The General, another photo is Income Society running for President primary election. Then we got a second photo of the General of 2025. This is 2025 photo. October 21st, 1972. October 21st, 2024, and 2025. We've got the Marines General photo of October of my birth certificate, 10:41 a.m. First name Felix, last name Barela. Location was Richland Hospital. City, county, and state. Location of birth, Benton County, Richland, Washington, 99352. Time of birth, 10:41 a.m. October 21st, 1972. Roberta V. Hernandez, Nebraska. Juan M. Barela, Texas, 32 years and 30 years. We got the General of the United States Army. The United States Army General of October 21st of 2024 and 2025. This is the policy regulation of authorizing presidential primary election. The General of the Army. Today of 2025. October of 2024 and October of 2025. January, February, March, April, May, June, and July. This is William H. Gage, Bill Gates, former 1835 senator, owner of course, Microsoft and Apple. The $200 billion was donated in the service of Income Society to a policy regulation authorization. Within the 20-year period, there's going to be $200 million deposited. And we carry this policy regulation and services. Now, J. Mueller's first services we have furnished. CIMARON5INC, 712 Okanagan Place, 519-735-3591. Amir Singh Nahar, CIMARON5, U. Benjamin, 602. That's Andy Miller, Eric I. Singer, Norma Rodriguez, Ryan Lutzkin, the former prosecutor of Benton County Justice Department, and also Mr. John Luke McKinnon, 519-765-4451. Fax 519-765-1619. Andy Miller, former prosecutor, and Eric I. Singer, former prosecutor, and also the policy regulation authorizing the contract, 712 Okanagan Place, 7122 West Okanagan Place, Building A, Kennewick, Washington, 519-735-2591. Fax 519-736-3066. Andy Miller, I.C., Benton, Washington, U.S. Now, the Washington Farm Bill is 4011314A. First name Felix, last name Barela. Remember, the state of Washington Department of Licensed Business Professional certifies a person's business below authorized in order public. License numbers 2001-17529. Authorization September 25th. Authorization was September 25th, 2024. Expires October 1st of 2028. That's by J. Inslee, the governor, Steve R. Hubb, Secretary of State, and Marcus J. Glasser, Department of License Department. Now we have the services here, embedded into the administration office. Now this is J. Mueller. Now J. Mueller Administration Office and Policy Regulation and Authorization and Service Policy Regulation and Service Administration Office at 1401 South Union. Biological father and mother and Felix Barela, Amy Mueller. Felix Barela and Amy Mueller. We got a Highlands Middle School right down the road. We got an LDS church and it says Felix Barela. We got signs that says at the Richland City Hall in Richland, it says Felix Barela. Ryan Lutzkin, Eric I. Singer, Norma Rodriguez. Benton County Justice Department says Andy Miller, says U.S. Marshal Taylor, has Felix Barela, has, of course, Eric Singer, and also the Policy Regulation and Services of the Policy of the J. Mueller and Mueller Administration Office. Deposit of $1,000 in the Commercial Society of the Justice Department was refurnished a brand new building. Audit office service, three-story, an elevator. An election campaign service, an election building that was built. As you can see, this election building was built. Now, building Air Force One, the policy regulation Air Force One, bringing Air Force One to the Society of United States Air Force, Ivanka Trump. Now, Ivanka Trump, her Air Force One, and canceling the service of being the President of the United States and having him killed, and knocking down Air Force One and the components of service in Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines at Larson Air Force Base and at Army Base in the United States of America. This is J. Mueller's funeral. The policy regulation down submitting information business license at CIMARON5, UBI number 602-720-979, 1400 Main Street. That's 704 East Olive Mills, Lake Washington, John Luke McKinnon. License number is MCKE JH502QN. That's McKinnon, MCKE JH502QN. Carla McKinnon's MCKE RM, MCKE RJ475RM. Carla McKinnon is MCKE RJ475RM. Now, taking the Air Force One, we have a monument service of Ivanka Trump at the jewelry store in Simon's Mall. And the Eagles, it's called the Eagle Desk. They have an Eagles desk in Simon's Mall. Belts, shoes, clothes, dress clothes, everything, apparel, belts. And of course, American Eagle is a policy regulating Simon's Mall, a direct deposit of the food court, which we YouTube the information, the food court. The policy regulations of rice and chicken, and also the filet gourmet that was built on Canal. We got that on YouTube. And then on Columbia Center Mall, Canal, business license renewal service and policy of that nature. Air Force One's been refurnished from Qatar and Saudi Arabia. Contracts, trillions and trillions of dollars, that's contracts, $1 trillion contracts, that's authorized for Air Force One to fly Air Force, fly the President of the United States of America to Saudi Arabia to implement the download how they killed Donald Trump in such a way. We got a Ivanka Trump on live YouTube. Nobody did nothing for Donald Trump. They had him killed. And they carried out the situation of picking him up off the ground after he got shot. And the policy regulations, they continue. Ivanka and Donald Trump called McKenna Law Firm at 704 East Olive Mills, Lake Washington Avenue, 509-765-4451, fax 509-765-6019, and J. Mueller's funeral. See the regulation of services and policy regulation of service of how they corrupted their Air Force One and canceling their services and bringing much of the main service and policy regulation to his turmoil. Didn't work out in such a way of nature. Because we got a presidential primary election that was done at Mar-a-Lago, Florida, 1100 South Ocean Boulevard, and Florida, and Palm Beach. The title and services downloaded DHCPS office in Mills Lake, Washington, submitted through the Olympia office and McKenna Law Firm at 509-765. It didn't work out. He became the President of the United States of America. He got to tell the story. Melania Trump, Ivanka Trump, Laura Trump, her president primary election, her campaign. Now, Caitlin C. Trump, she's 18 years old. This is May of 2025. She had her birthday. She's 18 years old. Caitlin C. Trump is 18 years old now. Now, Air Force One is born again. The policy regulations that Toma of President of the United States of America, Donald Trump Jr. running for the President of the United States, running for being the President of the United States, them stopping him to try to be the President of the United States, and Donald Trump Sr., Donald J. Trump. This is J. Mueller's funeral. This is Ron, and this is Amy Mueller. This is Felix Barela. This is the biological family members recorded in this mausoleum the J. Miller's Administration Office, Funeral Home in Kennewick, Funeral Home in Pasco, Funeral Home here in Kennewick, at 14 West South Union. And the LDS Church putting a golden trump onto the church on Gage Boulevard, 14 karat gold on YouTube URL. This is Donald J. Trump, the 47th president. His picture was taken. During that duration period of fighting to be the president of the United States, of not American, doing nothing wrong, pleading not guilty to all charges, this photo was taken to become the 47th president of the United States. And then Air Force One was decommissioned because they tried killing Donald Trump at the United States Army Base International Airport in Moses Lake, Washington. The Grant County Courthouse, 35 C Street, were taking pictures at the funeral, policy regulation at FREDA, where they exhume the body and policy and rows and take artifacts and headstones and policy regulation like they did here. Like we did here in video, we got video right here. To reflect the stopping him to be the President of the United States of America. This is New York, New York. Ivanka Trump, Melania Trump, Donald Trump Jr., Tiffany Trump. Now, Tiffany Trump, she had a little lawsuit going, and she won her lawsuit. She had her service and policy paid for, and policy regulations and services. Eric Trump, Donald Trump Jr., and let's go. Ivanka Trump, Donald Trump Jr., and Eric Trump, and of course Felix Barela, and Jay Mueller. Now, Jay Mueller stuck to his guns and situated in service and policy regulation and ownership, standing by their name. This is Donald Trump. This is USS Donald Trump in the background with the NATO admirals, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. And Wall Street, on Wall Street, Central Park across the street, residents and services. This is Melania Trump, 50th and 56th First Lady of the United States of America. Ownership policy at J. Miller's Funeral Home, and the jet engine that's transported to Moses Lake, Washington, J. Miller's Funeral Home in Pasco, Kennewick, and video confirmation, signature verification, United States Air Force. And also the policy regulation and service authorizing the president of primary election, the 50th and 52nd lady. At the Stratford Road on ConocoPhillips, Stratford Road, the oil refinery, oil company. Tariffs, embargo, drill, baby, drill, baby, drill. So we're going to drill all we want and take the tariffs and do a deposit increment for millions and billions of gallons and trillions of gallons to deposit into a tariff. This is Donald J. Trump, Melania Trump, 50th and 52nd First Lady of the United States of America, in her desk at the Kennedy Building. We downloaded and submit that information. We got Melania Trump and Donald Trump at the Oval House, the first photo in the National Line Council Station after the construction. Building and remodeling and moving things around in the Oval House. This is Melania Trump and Donald Trump of 2025. Of course, this is Mark Rubio. This is Mark Rubio and Doug Grim-Termson. And this is, of course, Hogs Hath. Pentagon official and policy regulation authorizing the presidential primary election. We also got photos of the United States Marines and Mr. Hogshaft, the Pentagon official in service before his Pentagon position in policy regulation service. But his increments has suffered his consequences. The Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, the Catholics, the Mormons, the Protestants, non-denomination churches, all of these Black Panther movements, the black movements, they recall the policy regulations of no speech, free religion, and policy regulation. That stopped. They're suffering consequences. Mr. Pentagon official is suffering consequences because the Vicodin priest, now the Pope, had passed away, and the new Pope has been established. The policy and the regulation is surfacing consequences, and that's Mr. Father Cepeda, Father Tom, Father Dylan, Father Richard, and the policy and regulation of Samaritan Church. They call it the Church of Sacred Heart Church in Othello on 7th Street. And the policy and regulation of Cepeda, the Father Cepeda, his income society of his YouTube, URL, Sway, Microsoft components and services on YouTube. The Pentagon officials are suffering his consequences. of his choices, his bad choices of words at churches and denomination churches suffered consequences. This is J. Mueller's Premium. Now, J. Mueller's Premium, policy regulation and service encompass a society of lying to others and service and policy regulation, how the doormat and repercussion of rebuilding everything by hand and paying for all the services and taking that $1,000 increments and building a fabrication service, an LDS church, building a Supreme Justice Department at 1st Street Northwest, United States of America Supreme Justice Department at 202-456-1414. The policy, regulation, and services of the Supreme Justice Department, Mrs. Robertson is the Supreme Justice, file affidavits in the Supreme Justice Department, pleading not guilty on files and affidavits and presenting evidence in services, which we did here. Now, the policy, regulation, services bring in much of the tabute services, how they fabricate things. Gail Christian Mueller, J. 21st, 1938, going to Kennel High School, Richland High School, and going to the policy regulation authorizing at a funeral home and policy regulation of a University of Washington and also Washington University. Go to all these colleges and campuses in Washington State and have the emblems and services embedded. We take the sacraments of the vault and the castings and service, much of the monumented service and policy regulation of services, substituting their service and policy authorizing personal interests of society. We got 1, 2 spaces, 4 spaces, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 spaces on this side. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces on this side available. Of course, we got Rest Haven. Rest Haven has a much of a contributor of their service and policy regulation service. Rest Haven's faces this side. This wall faces Rest Haven. You see the view. Yeah, of course, we got labor at the statue of the Revelations, how labor lay onto you. And the labor lay onto you for the statue and monument that's brought fabrication remodeled in the policy regulation that serves as Jamie's finger. Carries the executive order carrying out President private election. Now, Jamie Lee's funeral of 141 South Union cannot deny how they array in service of the administration office on a holiday weekend, 3-day weekend. They're carrying authorization services, carrying much of the aptitude of the hardcore individual Memorial Weekend, carrying much of the tribute to the service of John Luke Carlin McKennan's office in Mills Lake, Washington, 509-765-4451. Now, Rest Haven carries much of the tribute of services. Memorial Weekend carrying out much of the tribute of services. Now, Memorial Weekend carries the executive order. And how they planish the service of administration office. They carry out an affidavit, policy regulation at a funeral home, much of the aptitude of the administration office, carrying services, bring much of the income of society. Memorial Weekend. And Memorial Weekend carrying this affidavit. And a service. Administration Office, President Department election. Transporting jet engines to the Muse Funeral Home and putting it in the warehouse. And then the jet engines to the Ronnie Kaiser Funeral Home at 831 Pioneer Way. And then installing in the Pentagon Array Service Administration Office of Policy Regulation authorized by the President Prime election. And this Pentagon arraignment holds the flags and staff array service. No, Mark Miley, Lloyd Austin, Mr. Smith, United States Air Force. And now we got Mangings, and United States Army General, United States Marine General, authorizing President Primary elections and seals, policy release of 2025, and bringing 10 outposts and service ranks and generals and services, Mr. Hogshath from Pentagon officials, bringing in much of the testimony and service of making things up. Dedicated to the men and women who serve our country. It is dedicated to the men and women who serve in our country in times of peace, of war, and especially those who gave their lives in the service of May 30th, 1994. The nation that honors the veterans, a nation dedicated to the preserves and freedoms of one by sacrifice of lives itself. These emblems personally dedicating the valiant and dead and armed forces and ventured afar and fought bravely and gave their lives and preserved freedom and liberty to our land. Together they live here and mute in the testimony in the manner in which they lived and worked and fought and fought and achieved victorious in orders that America may live. We got this wall that bear names. Robert E. Clinton, Stephen Collins on the top, Daniel E. Borch, Ellen E. G. Jerfel, bottom, Austin G. Anderson, bottom. Top corner, left corner, Robert G. Lennon. Left top corner, Robert G. Lennon. Right top corner, Donna W. Darshall. Bottom left corner, Alex E. Briggins. Bottom right corner, Johnny A. Wells. Bob J. Ross, William A. Johnson, Dale A. Hunton, Robert E. Hearn, Jr., Merle G. Steffens, Richard E. Ellis, Esley R. Dorr, Robert E. Terrell, Carl G. Jensen, Jr., Levy E. Carey, Philip E. Dinner, Donald J. Farger, Jr., Billy E. Orbson, Osborne, K.Z. Russell, Jesse Malcolm. Revolution War, Patriots, Matrix commentary, the men and women deceived American independence, Patriots believe in noble cause, liberty, fought and vanity, found a new nation, 1775-1783. Presented Lakota chapter, Columbia chapter, Narcurus Whitman chapter, Robert Gray chapter, Chief Watman Cap chapter, Daughters of America Revolution, honor 250th anniversary, United States of America. This is Lakota chapter, Columbia chapter, River chapter, Narcus Whitman chapter, and also the Service of Robert Gray chapter, Chief Urban chapter, Daughters of American Revolution, honor 250th anniversary of the United States of America. 250 Daughters of the Revolution of America. Of course, this is the State of Washington Department of Services. This is the grave. Of course, the sod and services. Pile of service administration office. I'm carrying the sod out. Meaning the degree of service. Policy, regulations, services. CIMARON5INC, 1400 Main Street, 712 Okanagan Place. Department of Licensed Business Professional Business Certified Persons named below, authorized as John Lambert Kennan. 2001, 2011, 17, 7529, authorized September 25th, 2020, October 1st of 2020. Business renewal. Policy, regulations, and services. The policy, regulation, and service of increments of crypt and double-line landers, monarchs, on cards, placed in an ordered fashion. Now we maybe old-fashioned, but carry this policy, regulation, and services. The flag in the background. See, the J. Mueller's funeral, we got this constant service of Mr. Hogshead, the Pentagon official, signing documents for Donald J. Trump. Now, the Pentagon official policy regulation at J. Mueller's funeral, policy regulation direct deposit. And also Mr. Hogshead and Donald Trump and Mr. Rubio and Donald J. Trump at the Oval House signing contracts and policy regulation at J. Mueller's funeral, authorizing the presidential primary election. Melania Trump and Donald Trump signing contracts and policy regulation at the Oval House and Pentagon policy regulations. Melania Trump and her desk position at Kennedy Building in Richland, Washington. The birth certificate and policy regulation for Felix Barela at 1041 a.m., born October 21st, 1972. New York, residence in Central Park, Donald Trump, Melania Trump, Tiffany Trump, and USS Donald Trump in the background. Donald Trump's 47th President of the United States of America, taken before the presidential primary election and the service of the assassination plot and policy regulation after and before and aftermath. During those regulations, services of canceling their presidential primary election. This is Kaylin C. Trump. She's 18 years old, May of 2028. She's 18 years old of May. Her birthday was in May of 2000, today, yesterday, the week after that, we're at the Rhonda Kaiser's funeral, my 831 Pioneer, delivering the policy regulation income to the Society of the Presidential Primary Election portraits. This is for 47th President of the United States of America, Presidential Primary Election. dedicated to the veterans through the peace of war and their memories of that every day. Now, this is official picture of the President of the United States of America. It's a former picture of the President of the United States of America at the 47th over Mar-a-Lago, Florida, 1100 South Ocean. Mar-a-Lago, Florida. Title and policy regulations and service of Donald J. Trump. Renovating, building, rebuilding the White House and policy regulations authorized. This is the President's primary election. Posted at the Social Security office. This is Ivanka Trump and Donald Trump. This is Air Force One, where they try to terminate the service and policy regulations of Air Force One. Remodeling and completing service, going to Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and their services, which is called Kabul Airport, the main location and headquarters of transport in Saudi Arabia. This is the main connection policy regulation. They're stopping Donald Trump to be the President of the United States and service and have him killed and executed still to this day. Bringing income to society frowns to everybody. That post dated Donald Trump's president primary election and Donald Trump Jr.'s presidential election. Now, Donald Trump Jr. is running for president. See, they tried to stop the campaign and service by killing Donald Trump Donald Trump Jr.'s father, Ivanka's father, and Eric Trump's father. And their policy regulate biological family members in chain of command. Now, Felix Barela has a UBI number, 602-720-979. This is J. Miller's Funeral Home, 14 West South Union. Amy Mueller, Jamie Mueller, Amy Mueller, J. Mueller, and also policy regulation, Amy Mueller, J. Mueller, and also the service of Jim Mueller, biological father of the Mueller's administration office. Now, Air Force One was built in Larson Air Force, Moses Lake International Larson Air Force Base, Moses Lake, Washington, where they initiated the service in McKen Law Firm, breaking the window, coming here and breaking in services, bring administration office, coming here and prosecuting in service, bring administration, file documents and agencies and activities and video with camera. This is Jamie's funeral. The real deal. So we got Bill Gates, 1835 73rd Avenue, Medina. Bill Gates, owner of Apple, 1835 73rd Avenue. Microsoft, service and policy. And you know, the service and policy regulations embedding that service, bringing a testimony to a higher court, to federal court in Richland, Washington. And the United States General, United States Army General. Now, the United States Army General, we got Mangus and all the service and the General of the United States Marines and also the General of the United States Army. We're at the Pentagon Arraignment Service of downloading and submitting information to the service. Federal court has a higher court system at 825 Jaguar. Eric I. Singer, Norman Rodriguez, Ryan Lesson, Andy Miller, Mr. Norman J. Mattis. Also, the generals and conducts the service of the generals and NATO admirals and policy regulations of 2025. That's October, November, December of 2024, the presidential primary election. January, February, March, April, June, July of 2025. Today. We got the United States Marine General. Now, I mean, he's been a general for the policy regulations service. We had to take 2 photographs constantly. Service of being president of the United States of America and also Air Force One being built and flown again since they decommissioned that at the Moses Lake Army Base, Larson Air Force Base, because we got video confirmation of these individuals with agencies on the Army base pertaining to policy to try to take this policy president of the United States down and bringing his infatuated services to the presidential primary election to a gravesite. We got another picture of the General of the United States Marines. The second photo, because President of the United States of America, October 21st, 1972, he was born 10:41 a.m. Felix Barela at Richland Cadillac Hospital. Juan M. Barela, Texas, 32. Roberta Violet Hernandez, Nebraska, 30 years. We got Norman J. Manus, the General of the Marine Corps. Policy, regulation, and timeline. Mr. Andy Mill, Washington State Prosecutor. Eric I. Singer, Norman Rodriguez, Ryan Legs at 7122 West Okanagan Place, Kennewick, Washington. 509-735-3591. Fax 509-736-3066. This is Norman J. Manus. This is Pennsylvania Commonwealth State. The Commonwealth State and policy regulations of Butler County, where the assassination plot of July 13th of 2024 was done. A McCann Law Firm and Larson Air Force and Army Base, and also the Air Force One. This terminal policy regulations have they make things up. This is J. Miller's funeral in 14 West South Union. This is the Philadelphia Eagles bringing the championship to the White House with photos to download the President of the United States of America, because he is the President of the United States of America. Fuck out of here. This is Bill Gates at 1835 73rd Avenue. The real Bill Gates for a $200 billion deposit. J. Miller's funeral home at 1401 South Union. This is the do not bow to or biden to or to labor onto this statue. The statue has gone a long ways in Jesus Christ Almighty, in all Bibles, Christians, Catholics, Mormons, non-dominated churches, the black minority. Which that black minority rights and service has been a successor in policy, regulation, and services. Now bringing this policy, regulation, and services together, forever married, buck in the back, where Jesus Christ was executed, brought much of his testimony and services. Dennis again, Carrie in the front. This is their testimony and false prophets and services administration office.